She was only 16 years old, staying at her grandparents' place for a couple of days. Normal trip, nothing special, until one night, she found she had been carrying a secret, all alone, all by herself. This true life story isn't shocking because it is touching or dramatic, but because somewhere inside there is a human being, a young girl, just 16 years old, carrying a weight she was never supposed to carry alone. Let's talk. So she said she was 16 years old in high school, what we call secondary school in this part of the world. She didn't know her life was about to change forever. So this particular night, in her bed while the whole world was asleep, that part of the world at least, she got what felt like a bad and terrible menstrual cramp. To all my high carb and high sugar diet eating ladies, you know what I'm talking about. She had had cramps before, so she assumed that it was just the same thing. Painful, yes, but normal. She told herself it will pass, but it didn't. The pain got worse and worse and worse. She said in the past the pain used to make her crawl into herself and just breathe through it. That's why at first she didn't panic. She told herself, or she thought, okay, this is just one of those things. This is just my body doing what it does, until the pain got so bad that it threw her off her bed, and the pain just didn't stop. It kept coming in waves, harder each time, and her grandparents were right there, right in the next bedroom, asleep. She said she didn't want to scream. She didn't call out for them even though she wanted to. Now, she got to the point where breathing became very painful. She crawled. She literally crawled on her fours, crawled to the bathroom, so no one would hear her. She said she didn't want to be a burden. She didn't want to disturb anybody's sleep. It is well. 16 years old, laid in the bathroom floor, and just suffered all alone, in silence. No parent, no doctor, no adult, no friend. Just a frightened girl and unbearable pain. Then something weird happened. She said she felt something leave her body. Something came out of her. A lump. Something large. Something terrifying. She said she was terrified to look. I mean, who wouldn't be? She genuinely thought, and I need you guys to sit with this. Let it marinate for a second. She genuinely thought that her uterus had left her body. For those who missed biology class, uterus means womb. She thought she had pushed out her uterus. That's how much pain she had been in. The only thing her 16-year-old mind could make sense of in that moment. That's how little she understood what was happening. And honestly, most 16-year-olds wouldn't have understood either. So, she finally gathered the courage to look. And what she saw changed her forever. Guys, it was a baby, a fetus, a child, around 3 to 4 months old. And in that moment, she realized something she never knew. She had been pregnant the entire time. Yes, my people, she was with child and she never knew. Apparently, she had been carrying a baby in her for months and her body never gave her signs, or so she thought. No growing belly, no bump, no obvious signs, no missed alarms that screamed pregnancy. Just some back pain, some waist pain when she stood too long, a weird episode on the school bus a couple of weeks before where she felt she couldn't breathe. She had to stick her head out of the window to get some air. That was all her body gave her. Absolutely nothing that convinced a teenage girl that she was carrying a child. And suddenly every confusing thing started to make sense. Everything that seemed random now started to connect as she looked back. She remembered she fell on her butt during a scuffle with her friends over a piece of cake. That was where the waist pain started, and she blamed it on the fall. Nothing extraordinary. She stood up, legs shaking. She felt exhausted. and her mind trying to understand something no 16-year-old should have to process alone. So here she was in the bathroom, all alone, in the dead of the night, at her grandparents' home at 16. And she had just delivered a pregnancy she didn't know she had. Guys, this is a child cleaning up a pregnancy she never knew existed. No support, no adults in the room, nobody to help her understand what was going on. No counseling, just silence. She cleaned every trace of what had just happened to her. She said she wrapped the fetus in her towel, and the next day she buried the fetus in her backyard, in her grandparents' backyard, alone, by herself, told nobody. That was a moment in life that left a scar nobody could ever see. Because what do you even do with that memory? You barely understood it when it happened. How do you grieve someone whom you never knew was there? How? She said she later told the boy involved. She didn't specify how long after the situation. She thought maybe he would listen, show sympathy, maybe share some of the emotional burden. But instead, he didn't believe her. He didn't. He couldn't understand how they could have gotten pregnant because in his 16-year-old mind, they hadn't done enough for children. So he dismissed it, and she was left carrying the story all by herself. Once again, she's in her late 30s now, and for over 2 decades of her life, she has carried this alone. Oh, some experiences don't disappear. They simply become quieter. After going through this experience alone, reached out to the one person who would have stood by her, and he called her a liar. She folded it back up and just kept living. My sister, let me talk directly to you for a second. That's if by some chance she ever hears this. You were 16, you were naive, you were scared, and you were confused. You were dealing with a medical emergency completely alone. At 16, you could have lost your life even. Also to every woman who's had to be strong, alone in a room where no one knew you were falling apart. That guilt you've carried all these years doesn't entirely belong to you. You didn't wake up one morning planning for this. You didn't know what was happening. You were not wrong to crawl to that bathroom. You were not wrong to try to protect the people around you, even when you were the one who needed protecting. That instinct, that do not be a burden instinct, is something so many of us were raised with, especially as girls, especially in cultures where you learn that your pain is less important than everyone else's peace. You were the person making decisions with the information you had at that time. And that, my dear, is an important distinction. As a child, you went through something that would have broken grown adults with support systems and therapists and partners holding their hands. And you went through it on the bathroom floor, or in a garage, or in your bedroom, or someplace away from home. Could be under a tree around the corner. But you went through it alone in the middle of the night, literally or figuratively. Many people judge their younger selves with the knowledge they have today, and that's unfair. The teenage you at 16 or less was just trying to survive a terrifying moment. That's all. And maybe that's the lesson in this story. Listen, you got up, you cleaned your mess, so to speak, and you buried what you had lost. And you, my dear, went on with your life. That's not something to be ashamed of. In this life, people are carrying experiences we know nothing about. That woman beside you at work, the man at the bus stop, that friend who seems perfectly fine. They may have memories they have never spoken out loud. Moments that changed them. Moments they still think about when nobody's watching. This story is one of the most devastating things I've ever heard. And the fact that you survived it, that you're here in your late 30s, still carrying it, still able to talk about it, then that, my dear, says something about the kind of person you are. Let's talk about the guilt, shall we? Because I know it's there. I'm sure there are moments, even now, when you wonder, what if you had known? What if I had gone to the doctor sooner? What if? Here's the truth. Cryptic pregnancies where people are pregnant and they had no idea, are more common than most people know. There are documented cases of women going full term, delivering in bathrooms and genuinely not knowing they were pregnant. It's a real medically recognized phenomenon. That is just sometimes how the body works. This story reminds us that our bodies need attention, okay? Pain is information. Persistent symptoms deserve medical evaluation. Symptoms are like when you whisper before you scream. This story reminds us of something deeply human, that not every loss comes with a funeral. Not every grief is publicly recognized. That some losses happen in silence. Some are buried in backyards, while some are carried for decades. Some people even spend years and years of their lives wondering if they have the right to mourn. They do. That sadness you feel, that's the love. That sadness means it mattered to you. You didn't feel nothing, like a psychopath. You felt everything. And that boy who didn't believe you, or that person who didn't believe you, their disbelief doesn't change or rewrite what happened. I mean, they can keep lying to themselves all they want just to feel comfortable. But it doesn't make any of what you went through untrue. You are not responsible for making anyone believe. No child should ever think that they didn't want to be a burden. It means somewhere along the way, they were made to believe that their pain was theirs to manage alone. That is a sad reality. Someone telling you something painful is not automatically an attack. Sometimes people just need to be believed. That's all. Every person carrying something they buried alone, whether it's literal or metaphorical. Your silence about it was survival. And you're allowed, even now, even many more years later, to let somebody know that it happened and that it was hard. Let's begin to show kindness to the person we were when it happened. Let's put down the burden we've been carrying for years. Tell me what you think in the comments, and do not forget to subscribe, like and share. Subscribe to my channel. My email is on the screen if you have any true life stories you would like to share with us.